called Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. You never know what we're going to talk about. It's always a fun time. That's Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, Saturday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to VLR.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
A progressive woman once told me that if she was my wife, she'd poison my coffee. I told her if I was her husband, I'd drink it. This is Alan Bordius, host of Their Finest Hour, Monday nights, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Welcome back to the show, folks. This is Michael Hausen for Mike Miller. You are listening to The Right Mics. These second half hour, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it. Now, one of the fun things that we do is at our Twitter feed, at The Right Mics, is, it's kind of a newfangled way to interact back and forth on the show. Mike, and by the way, do you have twitter.com up on your desktop with The Right Mics feed?
No.
Okay, well, you should do that because our effective show sidekick, Dan Fitzgerald, during the break, Mike sent me a link.
You know what? I was almost going to say the same thing. Like, he's our co-host off air. He's like our Ed McMahon.
He drives our conversation.
He does.
So we were talking about Chris Kyle, and Dan sent me a link from, I think it's Eyewitness News. It was an AP story, but the source is ABC News in Houston. And what it is it's 5 questions and answers about the American Sniper murder trial. Right. And interesting, as much as you and I, Mike, were talking about, the movie, we both kind of acknowledged not a lot of knowledge about what's going on. So you want me to walk you through these?
Oh, I do. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so here you go. Number 1, did Eddie Ray Ruth and Chris Kyle know each other? No. Mother Jody Ruth has told numerous news outlets that she ran into Kyle at the school where she serves as an aide. She heard about Kyle's work with wounded vets and asked if he might be willing to help her son, who is struggling with PTSD and alcohol abuse. Kyle and Littlefield went to Ruth's home on February 2nd, 2013 to take him to a shooting range where the killings occurred. It appears to have been the first time they'd met.
I did know that.
Yeah, so it's a little different from the movie. The movie shows it that Ruth shows up by himself and picks up Kyle at his house, when in fact, Kyle and Littlefield, who was not in the movie, at the strong, strenuous request of his family, went and picked him up.
And you know what? I mean, just stopping there for just a second. When I saw that scene, I said to my wife, that's not the way that happened, because they opened the door and the guy's standing there. And first of all, you go to pick someone up, you sit there, call them ahead, you tap the horn lightly. But the weird way that he was just standing out there, I knew, that he didn't, well, I just knew it didn't happen that way. He did not go pick him up. So anyway, go ahead.
It was a very effective way to communicate that there was something the hell wrong with that guy.
As well as the way the wife looked at him. And then kind of slowly close the door. Yeah, that was the movie.
Yeah, co-host Dan's comment here is dramatic license that moves the story along.
Exactly.
And that's exactly right. Okay, number 2. What is Ruth's defense strategy? Since Ruth admitted the slayings to his sister and brother-in-law, and in an interview with the Texas Rangers, the trial will revolve around his state of mind at the time. Ruth's attorneys have filed a notice of intent to pursue an insanity defense. Prosecutors have chosen not to seek the death penalty if Ruth is convicted.
I read that this morning, yes.
Yeah, that he'll be given life without possibility of parole. Defense attorneys have expressed concern whether he can receive a fair trial given the movie, etc., which you mentioned.
Right.
Now, the next 3 questions are about PTSD, which we'll ignore. Much has been written about American sniper Chris Kyle, but who is the other victim, Chad Littlefield? Littlefield, 35, had a wife and young daughter. According to a June 13 New Yorker magazine story, the 2 men met on the sidelines of a youth soccer game and became friends, talking about Kyle and Littlefield. They lived in the same neighborhood, hunted, and worked out together. Although he had never been in the military himself, he had volunteered his time to work with veterans. By the time of the fateful outing with Ralph, he had accompanied Kyle on similar trips dozens of times.
Yes, and by the way, I've been to his website. Excuse me, man. His Facebook page. Check out his Facebook page. It's still up and it's still active, and his brother runs it and comments on a regular basis.
You're talking about Kyle, obviously, or Littlefield?
Littlefield. Yeah, Littlefield's Facebook page is up and active, and his brother has in effect become him, not, but for a long time, and they support various causes and stuff. So that's pretty almost heart-wrenching in and of itself to visit Littlefield's Facebook page.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, absolutely. What comes to mind with that is Andrew Breitbart's Twitter account is still active.
Exactly. Goosebumps, dude.
Yeah, totally. All right, well, Dan, thank you so much for sending that over to us, because that just, that right there is more information that I knew before, of course.
Exactly. And again, it is good to have kind of a shadow co-host.
Speaking of, I'm going to make this transition here, that we're a host of a show online. Is the Federal Election Commission, Mike, going to regulate political speech?
Can you believe this? I mean, yes, but this has been talked about in various fashions and forums for a while. And I mean, Democrats go after this every way they can. Fairness doctrine, that died. But this could, and this has been out there in different forums for a while, this could extend to blogs, right? So the FEC, Federal Election, that was almost weird to say because when I say FCC, but Federal Election Commission, hearing today to receive public feedback, that's interesting, on whether it should create new rules regulating political speech. I mean, what do you just think about this kind of stuff? I mean, we've talked about this in terms of other issues in the past. New rules regulating political speech, including political speech on the internet, that some are warning, Michael, could extend to bloggers.
Yeah, well, the idea is, from looking at what they're saying here, is that the issue is paid advertisements from political campaigns, parties, and political action committees that take place on broadcast airwaves. And the Election Commission chairwoman, Ann Revelle, issued a statement this past October that the agency is insufficiently monitoring activity on the internet, saying, some of my colleagues seem to believe that the same political message that would require disclosure if run on television should be exempt from the same requirements when placed on the internet alone. As a matter of policy, it does not make sense. So what they're trying to do is interpret that the restrictions that impact broadcast information and advertisements would also extend to the internet, which would be YouTube videos, blogs, websites like Drudge.
But you got to separate the two, because, you know, the notion of the political contributions. I mean, this goes back to the Supreme Court ruling. You know, the numbers are here. We don't need to get into them. But there was a maximum amount of money that an individual could give politically. And they, Supreme Court, Roberts said it was limiting free speech, got rid of it. So now you can give as much money as you want to as many candidates as you want, given that you don't exceed the limit per candidate.
Well, here's the thing, is that the question is, if you spend money, let's say that the Scott Walker Political Action Committee wanted to pay us to read an ad. Okay, right now that would those amounts, individuals wouldn't be subject to the restrictions, because our show isn't regulated the way. See, what ends up happening here, Mike, is two things in my mind come to my mind. Number one is that there is such a blending of the various different mediums. You know, Fox News.
Question.
You know, Fox News will run an interview, but then they'll put on their website, they will post that interview on their website, and Fox News website is one of the most trafficked websites on the globe.
Exactly.
You know, Fox News website is going to get a lot more traffic than the local Indianapolis NBC affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
Running an ad on the local NBC affiliate is subject to the restrictions. Running an ad on the Fox News website is not. So, frankly, I can kind of get, if there's going to be restrictions in terms of advertising, I can understand how those types of restrictions would extend everywhere. But what it does to me then, the immediate next step is it shows the folly of those type of restrictions, because it's not just, hey, there's the national public, there's public access TV and 3 broadcast channels. All of these restrictions and all of these types of activities are all archaic because of the world that we live in today. So in my opinion, they should all be scrapped.
Well, I agree. But to me, again, aside from the money, and here, you know Henry Waxman, right?
Yeah, he's the Beverly Hills guy.
Exactly. Here's a staffer. Does one heavily trafficked internet site, i.e., as you just said, Fox News, present one side of an issue and not link to sites that present alternative news? Ridiculous. I mean, it's, you know what? This goes back to the fairness doctrine again, which would have required, for an example, any stations that carry Limbaugh. Okay, let's say they carry Limbaugh, Hannity, and Laura Ingraham. However many hours that is, probably 6. then they would be required to carry 6 hours of Alan Colmes and people like that. It's just, to me, dude, it's like Orwell's 1980. Well, no, Orwell's 1984 would dictate what it would be. But you're right. That stuff should all be scrapped.
It all should be scrapped. And and you can see the Federal Election Commission is saying, look, if there's